High-ranking sources within Ferrari have dropped an absolute bombshell by admitting the inevitable. Nobody in Maranello can currently guarantee Lewis Hamilton's physical stability behind the wheel. Despite a near catastrophe during the Chinese Grand Prix, Frédéric Vasseur is doubling down on a dangerous aerodynamic gamble for the upcoming race at Suzuka. Secret telemetry data suggests the new rotating rear wing is effectively a ghost mechanism, making the Scuderia Ferrari 26 far more treacherous than engineers dare to publicly confess. Ferrari has meddled exactly where the paddock feared: the car's rear-end stability. After the rotating wing assembly showed erratic behavior during the sprint weekend in China, Vasseur has confirmed the component will return for Japan. But here is the detail that changes everything. This isn't a standard upgrade, it's an aggressive punt on a technical gray area. The 2026 regulations have created cars with hair trigger reactions, and Ferrari's new system struggles to transition aero load. When the mechanical delay in closing the element is slower than a traditional drag reduction system, the margin for error becomes a dark joke, especially under heavy braking at speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. In practical terms, the Scuderia is chasing efficiency by manipulating airflow and rear-end downforce in a way that fundamentally alters the car's balance between straights and corner entry. The risk is stark. If the wing's transition lags by even a fraction of a second, it creates a terrifying sailing effect at the most critical moment. This is precisely how Hamilton suffered that heart-stopping moment in Shanghai at turn 6, where the car became a passenger to its own physics. With the car weighing a minimum of 722 kilograms and featuring increased electrical deployment, any loss of rear grip isn't just a slide, it's a high-speed launch into the barriers. The tension in the paddock is reaching boiling point, as Mercedes and McLaren have reportedly compiled a comprehensive dossier to hand over to the race stewards. The accusation is damning. Ferrari's experimental wing creates unpredictable turbulence for following drivers, directly violating the spirit of the 2026 rules designed to improve overtaking. If the FIA determines that this ghost wing causes a safety hazard or bypasses the aeroelasticity checks, we could be looking at a massive disqualification or a forced technical U-turn that would derail Ferrari's entire championship campaign. There is something deeply sinister brewing inside the Aston Martin Aramco factory that contradicts their polished public image, and it is no minor tremor. While the team attempts to market itself as a rock-solid powerhouse for the 2026 season, the internal structure is already exhibiting catastrophic fractures. That meeting between Lawrence Stroll and Christian Horner was never just a casual chat, it was a transparent act of desperation from the top. However, in the middle of this political minefield, Adrian Newey has intervened and effectively slammed on the handbrake. The core issue here is as blunt as a front wing. Adrian Newey has flatly refused to approve the arrival of Christian Horner. When the genius designing the car begins to dictate the boardroom hierarchy, we are no longer talking about mere opinions. This is raw, unadulterated power. Newey reportedly views Jonathan Wheatley as the only viable functional solution, a leader who focuses on operations rather than centralizing political ego. This indicates a violent clash of philosophies. Stroll is hunting for political heavyweight status, while Newey is demanding pure technical efficiency to save the project. Here is the detail the mainstream media is ignoring. The Aston Martin Aramco 26 is not just lacking pace, it is fundamentally unstable. The car is suffering from a chronic lack of mechanical grip, the suspension geometry is failing during weight transitions, and the Honda power unit is nowhere near integrated into the aero package. Introducing Horner into this volatile environment would be like pouring petrol on a bonfire. Newey is screaming for the breathing room required to fix the car's handling, not more management noise and corporate bureaucracy. Lawrence Stroll has not backed down. Quite the opposite. He has launched a predatory strike to snatch Wheatley away from the Audi Revolut Formula One team. This is an act of total war. Audi is currently building its long-term foundation, and losing their team principal now would leave their entire operation in shambles. Yet Stroll is willing to burn every bridge in the paddock to pay that price. But even if he succeeds, the gardening leave period could sideline Wheatley for many months, meaning Aston Martin is fighting for a piece of the puzzle that won't even fit in the short term. Toto Wolff might be grinning as Mercedes-AMG Petronas sits comfortably at the summit, but behind the scenes, the narrative has shifted and the mask has finally slipped. He has finally confessed what the purists have been screaming from the rafters. The 2026 challengers are technological Frankensteins that prevent drivers from pushing to the absolute limit. The question echoing through the paddock in Shanghai is simple yet brutal. Are we witnessing the evolution of the spectacle, or the greatest marketing scam in the history of the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile to hide cars that weigh as much as heavy goods vehicles. The telemetry from the Silver Arrows does not lie, even if Wolff tries to sugarcoat the bitter pill. He admitted that watching a Formula One driver lift off the throttle in the middle of a pole position lap just to recharge the battery is, at the very least, bizarre. In the paddock, the talk of the town is unanimous. The 350 kilowatt electric motor simply dies at the end of the straights, the infamous superclipping phenomenon. Many of you have commented that Formula One has morphed into a race of vacuum cleaners, and the truth is that without the roar and with this power cut, George Russell only leads the World Championship because Mercedes found a grey area in the energy deployment software that no one else has managed to decode. The excessive mass of the battery packs is quite literally grinding the car's suspension into dust. Under heavy braking, the raw momentum shifts the center of gravity violently, destroying the tire shoulders in a matter of laps. There are high-ranking figures at Oracle Red Bull Racing suggesting that Mercedes is employing an illegal thermal cooling trick to keep their batteries at peak performance at all times. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton at Scuderia Ferrari is struggling to comprehend why his car dances so unpredictably on corner entry, while Russell appears to be running on electric rails. With the cars now weighing a minimum of 722 kilograms, the physical strain on the mechanical components is reaching a breaking point. While Mercedes plays politics, our hero Gabriel Bortoleto is proving at the Audi Revolut Formula One team that raw talent still counts, but even he has signaled that the lack of punch from the power unit strips away the gladiator-like adrenaline. The backstage war is intensifying. McLaren, MasterCard and Ferrari are attempting to convince the stewards that the Mercedes energy recovery system is inherently dangerous for those following behind. The risk of high-speed collisions caused by sudden deceleration during harvesting is the mega problem that has just exploded. Helmut Marko has ignited an absolute firestorm by admitting to a desperate intervention. Nobody within the Oracle Red Bull Racing hierarchy is capable of restraining the sheer audacity of Max Verstappen. The Austrian consultant has confirmed a total ban on the Dutchman's plan to defy death at the Green Hell. But behind the scenes, this censorship has sparked a silent revolution. Whispers from the corridors of Milton Keynes are chilling. Verstappen intended to take a Formula One machine to the Nordschleife to utterly demolish the world record, but Marko hit the panic stations and blocked the move. While Red Bull acts like a conservative parent clipping a bird's wings, Mercedes has swooped in with the keys to an AMG GT3 and an irresistible invitation. Many of you have commented that Verstappen appears trapped within the 2026 structure, and this veto was the definitive flashpoint. Max has realized that at Red Bull he is merely an employee, whereas at Mercedes he would be the master of the playground. Technically, Marko's fear is rooted in reality, but the crisis goes much deeper. The Red Bull 22 chassis, with its battery packs that reach critical thermal limits under high stress, would face mechanical suicide on the brutal jumps of the Nordschleife. The rigid ground effect suspension would likely disintegrate upon the first high-velocity bounce on that uneven tarmac. The Mercedes AMG GT3 that Verstappen is currently piloting offers a level of track feedback and mechanical compliance that Red Bull simply cannot deliver right now. Toto Wolff has played a masterstroke. He provided Max with the technical freedom that Red Bull denied him under the guise of safety. It is the perfect Trojan horse, capturing the driver's heart by allowing him the pleasure of driving what he wants, where he wants. If George Russell continues to dominate with that magical Mercedes energy software, and Max remains forbidden from seeking his own thrills, a divorce is merely a matter of time. There are figures in the paddock suggesting that Max's contract contains a pleasure of driving clause that Red Bull is actively violating by muzzling their star asset. Without Adrian Newey to design the cars, and with Helmut Marko acting as a restrictive censor, Verstappen is desperately seeking oxygen elsewhere. The monumental question facing the paddock is clear. Has Mercedes already won the champion's loyalty through endurance racing, or does Red Bull have one final ace up their sleeve to retain the Dutchman?